Hi, is this Dr. Lyons?
Yes, this is Dr. Lyons.
We're live with you. This is Shannon Penrod. You're live on Autism Live.
Hi, Shannon. Hello, everyone.
Hello. And so hang on a second here, and I'm going to get us back to a place where we can be. But Dr. Lyons, I was just telling them that your credentials, you're an International Autism Educator and an Ivy League scientist. And you are the author of a new book, the Lyons Report 2020, Autism and Functional Medicine Doctors. So I want to start, first of all, welcome to the show, but I want to start and have you talk with us a little bit about why autism is of such interest to you.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on the show. And this will answer that question and tell you a little bit more. I watch Autism-Live, and I did so a lot when my daughter was first diagnosed with autism. So it's very surreal to be on this program that I used to watch.
How exciting to have you here. What a lovely, lovely thing. And so you referenced that your daughter was diagnosed. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So my daughter was diagnosed when she was 3.5 years old. I do have a PhD in chemistry from Yale University. I've worked in healthcare. So kind of from the beginning of her development, there was this intuition, that something wasn't just right. And she was developing in certain areas, but not in others. And, people and different doctors and other parents told me, every child is different. But, it's that gut feeling that something just wasn't right.
And so I'm curious for you and all the things that we all have that beginning, that kickoff of when our child is diagnosed and the first steps that we take. But I'm terribly interested to know what your first steps are. I'm wondering if they're similar to the rest of us.
Sure. Well, they're similar in the sense of information is the best way to start. It's just that I have academic credentials, so all of those research articles that cost $80 to look at for each one, I can and did look at all of them. So I still had my academic credentials. So my information gathering is just a bit different than most parents. So I would also then reach out to the different scientists who published the publications, and we would talk in a very scientific way. So I left that role of being a mom aside when I was interacting with researchers, with doctors. So when I would have an appointment with a doctor, I went in there as Dr. Lyons, not as, mom. And it just allowed me to access different information that many people wouldn't have because it takes so long for information to trickle down. So that's really how my first steps are different, just because of my academic background and the fact that I worked in healthcare. I worked in healthcare both in R&D as also as a strategist.
Well, I'm wondering, though, I think so many of us as moms go in to have a conversation with a doctor. Even for me, interviewing people in terms of this show, I feel like often there is this stigma, I don't know, where if I'm the mom, then the automatic presumption is that I may not know what I'm talking about and that that I'm not educated about the things that perhaps I am educated about. Did you find that not only, going in and speaking as a doctor and leaving the mom thing behind, did you feel like people listened to you a little bit more?
Well,
or were they just freer to answer your questions?
No, so I would prepare an agenda. I would send it to them the day before. This is all things that I do with my clients now. But so the doctors knew that I was coming. So I never surprised a doctor with a difficult question. Mm-hmm. I always gave them time to really think about it so that when they had that appointment with us, they brought their best thoughts, their best ideas. So many times parents are more well-read on a certain subject, especially if you're going to see a general pediatrician. It's really hard for a general pediatrician to stay up to date on all of the different therapeutic areas that their patients are involved in. So when it comes to asking those really important questions that you feel like you almost know more than the doctor, give the doctor time to even then research it themselves so that they can prepare a really good answer for you. That's what I found works the best, regardless of my background or not.
Well, that's great advice. But I think what everybody is probably wanting to know, and what I want to know is, so you were in all these places, you did all this research. What'd you find out, and how does this go along with? Because your book, it's about functional medicine doctors. So I'm presuming you found something out about functional medicine.
Yes, for sure. So there is this, like, especially a few years ago, there was this whispering. Now it's much louder, but there was this whispering of, your child doesn't have to have symptoms all throughout your life, and they can get better. And, I would read a book or two from parents who had completely healed their children, and their children are entirely different and able to have careers and friends and everything we want our children to do. So it really became, how did they get that? And how can I get that? And that's where that blending of quality information as well as partnerships came together. And functional medicine is something that was very common in children who had that great turnaround where things were much different for them. So I started understanding what functional medicine was, who are the good practitioners, where are these practitioners learning, who are they studying with. I've interviewed many of them. And then as I started to build a business, many of my clients, that would be their first thing, where it was like, how can I get a good doctor? And so I just naturally had this Rolodex of great functional medicine doctors who had great experience with autism, and they want to work with children with autism. That's a big difference. When you're with a doctor who is just on board and believes in your child as much, sometimes even more than you do, oh my goodness, the partnership that can happen. That's when a doctor doesn't question your ideas. When you're in that partnership and you're working with someone who's knowledgeable and interested and doesn't have any of those limiting beliefs as to what health really is. So it's about functional medicine, why anyone with autism really should explore functional medicine. And then it lists the functional medicine doctors who are really good in the United States with autism. There's over 70 of them.
And so you cut out for just a second there, but I think what you were saying is that this is the information that's in the book. That even, because I was going to say, where do we find the list of the doctors? That's also in the book, correct?
It's in the book, yes. So the book explains why functional medicine is important, how it's different than conventional medicine, and actually why you would want both. I'm an advocate of using all the possible tools that a child could use. Well, so having a conventional medicine doctor and a functional medicine doctor is really the way to go.
For people who've never even heard of a functional medicine doctor, never explored that before, can you give us an example of one thing that maybe you did with your daughter that you found like really helped her, that was more functional medicine and not conventional medicine?
Sure, I can give an example. It's a universal example. Most autism parents really resonate with this. So if your child's not sleeping, you go to a doctor and they say, well, you can try melatonin. It seems to work for a lot of people, and just give that a try, right? And you try it, and most times it goes well. And then after a few weeks, it doesn't go so well anymore, right? Because it wasn't a solution to the problem. It was just this kind of temporary patch. You got a few good weeks of sleep, and then you're back at baseline. With functional medicine, the doctor will say, all right, what is really causing this lack of sleep? Is it low magnesium? Is it a gut infection? Is it neurotransmitter imbalances? What is it? Let's figure that out so that for the long term, this child can sleep. And then they'll also say, you know what? In the meantime, if you want to try, we can look at, depending upon what the problem is, a few supplements or so. So they give you that short-term fix, and also they want that long-term solution so that the child can sleep for the rest of their lives. That's the difference of functional medicine.
And I think a lot of people just went, oh, I really want this. Because, when the show House was on, for so long. I remember so many people going, why aren't all doctors like House, where they're looking for the underlying thing? Why are they all trying to slap a Band-Aid on it? Why isn't somebody trying to figure out what's causing that? Which is very interesting. But you touched on briefly, I know that forming partnerships for care is really important to you. And you touched on it briefly. Is there stuff in the book about how you form that partnership with your functional medicine doctor and maybe with your convention? Because I think a lot of us just don't even know how to bridge that.
Yeah. So when you're working with someone, that's what a functional medicine doctor is really looking for. They want to work with the patients who really want to figure things out. They're dedicated to change. So just by having a functional medicine doctor, you're starting off with someone who's looking for that partnership. Functional medicine appointments with a doctor, the shortest appointments are usually 30 minutes. That's a short appointment. Okay. So it's very different than conventional medicine, where on average it's like you get 7 minutes to speak with the doctor at most. So the book does touch upon partnership and how to approach that with the doctor, but also why it's important to look for, just because it works so synergistically. So if you have a functional medicine doctor who can help with supplements and different prescriptions for something if it's needed, but they're also interested in diet as well as, how the child's being educated and looking at things differently, that's where that power of partnership comes from, that synergy of leveraging everything together.
Well, I think we all are looking for that. How do I know that you're, when is the book available? Let's start there.
The book is available now. Okay. So it came out in March. It's on Amazon. You can buy the paperback version or the electronic version. And you could also go to the lyonsreport.com if you want to get more information about me. And my name, the last name is Lyons. Okay. So the lyonsreport.com.
Okay. So, and the book is the Lyons Report 2020, Autism and Functional Medicine Doctors. But spell out your whole website for us again.
Sure. The website is thelyonsreport.com. So THELYONSREPORT.com.
Dr. Lyons, thank you so much for being with us and for being patient with us, because I know we were running a little bit late, but we're excited to have you on here. And I did not know that you were somebody who watched the show, so that's especially exciting.
It is. I feel it's very surreal talking to you.
Well, it's like that for me too. So now we're lifelong friends. So thank you so much for being here with us. And then we'll look forward to having you back on again.
Certainly.
When things are not so weird and we'll be able to see you and talk to you. And
yes, definitely.
Maybe there'll be a time when we can have you in the studio. And wouldn't that be exciting?
That would.
In a different era, we'll make that happen. Well, thank you so much for being with us. And we'll look forward to people getting your book, The Lyons Report. And Lyons is spelled Lyons Report 2020, Autism and Functional Medicine Doctors. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.